Hello, I'm Justin King with the Asset Building Program at the New America Foundation, and I'm sitting here today with Travis Plunkett at the Consumer Federation of America. Travis is the Legislative Director for CFA and has been a leading figure in the grassroots movement to see that financial reform has a positive impact for consumers. Travis, one of the things we heard you speak about today is that the CFPB is actually going to be, as many people have called for, an independent bureau within the Fed. How can people sort of look at this sausage-making process that's happened, as always does, and feel with some level of confidence that this is in fact an independent bureau that is going to be able to act on its own?
Well, you have to look at several features of the agency. First, who are the leaders and who influences that decision? In this case, only the president. It's presidentially appointed. This person reports directly to the president and confirmed by the Senate. So it's an equivalent process to choosing agency leaders, agency directors. Second, funding. Where does it come from? And in this case, it will be taken from the Federal Reserve's operating expenses, a proportion of those. It won't be provided by the financial services industry, and it won't be provided, for the most part, by Congress. So that's a good sign. That gives the agency director, plenty of resources to make decisions that are in the best interest of consumers without worrying about any sort of attack on his or her funding source. Mm-hmm. And then you have to look at the sort of legislative powers or the rulemaking and enforcement powers that were granted to the agency. And for the most part, they're pretty broad. The agency director will have room to write rules for most people in the financial services industry and enforce those rules, with some notable exceptions. But compared to other agencies, it's a fairly powerful independent agency.
It strikes me that the real key out of all of that is the leadership question, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but a strong leader is critical to the success of the agency, particularly the first leader of this agency. But I want to sort of look down the road. Does that presidential appointment of that position, while a lot of people are optimistic about what it means in the near term, potentially, what about in the long term? Will we see a potentially roller coaster style of leadership if we have changes, as we will have inevitable changes in sort of presidential authority, and therefore changes in who heads the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau?
Well, based on observing other federal consumer-oriented agencies, the answer's, just to be honest, is yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The Federal Trade Commission, the Consumer Product Safety Commission, the Food and Drug Administration, they've all had their ups and downs based largely on what the president wanted. Yeah. So in times like now, where we have a president who believes strongly in protecting consumers, we will have a strong agency. Mm-hmm. At other times where we have, as we have in the past, a president who is basically anti-regulatory, who believes that unfettered competition in the marketplace is the way to improve the economy and benefit consumers, that's likely to be the direction this agency goes in. The director will be appointed for 5 years. In theory, that director can't be fired except for good cause. The reality, though, in Washington is that these people tend to leave when there's a change in administration that is hostile to their point of view. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so that's likely to be the case here, too. What that means now, though, is for the first 2 years at the very least, we have the potential to have a very strong, very vigorous, pro-consumer leader who will set all the precedents for this agency, just like Joe Kennedy did with the SEC in the 1930s. That's extremely important because at that point, everybody who leads the agency will be judged by the record achieved by this director. Mm-hmm. So we're excited about that. This will be a crucial appointment for the president, and we're urging him to appoint the best possible leader for this new agency.
I will refrain from asking for names to pull out of the hat. I want to shift gears quickly and ask you about one final issue. One of the topics that came up today, if you want to describe sort of the new regulatory regime, in many ways we're moving away from the era of disclosure and towards an era of more regulation. At least that's what the blueprint seems to call for. One of the critical pieces, I think, of that, of both disclosure and regulation, is the level of knowledge and the level of awareness of the consumer themselves. We've relied a lot, and we've talked a lot in recent years about financial literacy and financial education. There's a section in the bill that calls for the CFPB to be engaged in promoting financial literacy and education. What does that look like going forward?
Well, the agency is going to have a number of ways to help consumers be more financially literate. A big step in doing so actually has nothing to do with what consumers know, but with providing them, making sure that the marketplace provides them with choices that are understandable, transparent, and simple. If we've learned anything from the subprime mortgage lending process and abuses in that marketplace, from credit cards, from other lending abuses, it's that complexity is the enemy. That the more complex and difficult to understand lenders make their products, the harder it is for consumers to make wise choices. So the first thing is try to stimulate simple, fair products in the marketplace, and there's a number of ways the agency can do that. The next thing is get them good information about their financial decisions and about their choices. And as you say, the law mandates that the agency shall do that. Our view is that financial education per se, and my organization spent many years helping, for example, to set up a program called America Saves, which is designed to help people save more money, low and moderate income people save more money to improve their lives. A lot of the so-called financial literacy programs that are out there are not effective. There is not evidence that they work. And the measure should be, is it changing behavior? Not is it increasing what people know, but is it changing behavior? And by that standard, a lot of these programs simply don't work. Yeah. And we think one of the first steps the agency should take is to conduct a serious analysis of the evidence on certain types of financial education programs to find out what works and what doesn't, and then to encourage the development of programs that work.
There's a high bar there, and there's a high bar, I think, for a lot of this bill going forward. But this is, in many ways, an exciting time, and I want to thank you for taking time out of your schedule to sit down with us today. You can learn more about Travis and the Consumer Federation of America's work at consumerfed.org, and more about the New America Foundation at www.newamerica.net. Thanks very much.